Well, it is an extreme pleasure and an honor to be here. I'm so glad to be back. I love Cleveland. I love Cleveland so much that I chose to marry a man from Cleveland. And this year we will have been married 35 years. Now, of course, we were married when we were 10. And I just want to tell you that for many years we were an ecumenical couple. My husband was a Methodist pastor for almost 25 years. I am a Catholic revert. My husband converted to be Catholic. He was ordained as a deacon on October 30th, and he's going to be ordained, God willing, as a Catholic priest on June 29th. Now, how could I be legitimately married to a Catholic priest? This has to do with the personal ordinariate of the Chair of St. Peter, something that was started by Pope Benedict, and it's going to be incredibly awesome. So if you happen to be in Houston on June 29th, come by and see my husband get ordained as a Catholic priest. I have been asked to speak about China. Now, this conference is called Bring America Back to Life, but Molly's vision extends beyond the broad land of America, beyond the Pacific Ocean, to a land on the other side of the world where people are living in darkness, a godless, brutal, totalitarian regime. And the theme of this conference is enough is enough. Now, enough is enough in America, but enough is more than enough, even so, in China. People often ask how I got involved with this issue. I'm an attorney. I'm a graduate of Yale Law School. I was a complex commercial and intellectual property litigator in the San Francisco Bay Area for years. And on a pro bono basis, I represented Chinese refugees in their cases for political asylum in the United States. My first refugee was persecuted as a Christian and forcibly sterilized in China, meaning that she was literally physically dragged out of her home, held down to a table. They cut her open and tied her fallopian tubes without anesthesia. And she got a huge infection and suffered chronic back pain, chronic abdominal pain, and chronic migraines from the time that happened to the time that I represented her in her case. That's how I found out about, I had known that China had a one-child policy. I did not know that it was enforced through forced abortion, forced sterilization, and infanticide. And my husband and I, when we found out, we sold our home, put down $50,000 to help get this effort off the ground. And I have since then dedicated my life to raising awareness of this, international advocacy, and also helping people on the ground inside of China. Now, how many people were here last time I spoke? I want to see, oh gosh, quite a few of you. So, since the last time I spoke, 3 things have happened. Chen Guangchen has come to the United States, and I will talk more about that. And we've started actually saving babies on the ground inside of China, and we also have started actually saving widows on the ground in China. We've established a network inside of China. And I believe that we're the only organization in the world that has a network inside of China that's actively saving babies and widows. It's really not an easy thing to do at all. So people often wonder, what do you mean by forced abortion? And I think that the best way to understand what has been going on in China under the one-child policy and now under the two-child policy is to watch the video Stop Forced Abortion in China. And I would just say, if you don't want to see a graphic image, close your eyes for about 15 seconds when I say, and I have a photograph of her mourning the loss of her aborted baby. Forced abortion under China's one-child policy, now two-child policy, is the greatest life issue in the world. In the United States, we've had about 57 million abortions since the Roe v. Wade decision. In China, the Chinese Communist Party boasts that they have prevented 400 million lives through the one-child policy. That number, 400 million, is greater than the entire population of the United States and Canada combined. And they've done it through forced abortion, forced sterilization, and forced contraception. So in the United States, we have about 1 million abortions a year. In China, although they have a population that's 4 times the size of ours, they have 23 million abortions a year. So every abortion we have here, they have 23 there. 23 million abortions a year comes out to 63,013 abortions a day, 2,625 abortions an hour. So in the time that I'm speaking to you now, there will be 2,625 abortions an hour and 43 per minute. The greatest hemorrhage of human life in the world today is flowing out of China. So in Ephesians 5:11, the Apostle Paul tells us, have nothing to do with the fruitless deeds of darkness, but rather expose them. When I found out about this as an attorney, I just felt that I had to do something. So people think that I'm a brave person, but I am nothing compared to the blind activist Chen Guangchen. And last time I was here, Chen Guangchen was suffering under house arrest, and I showed this video. I'm going to show the video again just to remind people, or also for people who didn't see that, to show you the video, because I mounted an international campaign to free him. So if you could play Free Chen Guangchen. So I showed this video last time I was here, and Molly basically stopped the conference and said, let's all just stand here and pray for Chen Guangchen. And the whole conference got up, and we all prayed for him to escape. And he did escape. And that is the power of prayer. So somebody I didn't even know sent me this. It's called Powerless Ones. I just got this email from this random person. You know, Richard Dawson is sharing a video link with you. I thought, who's Richard Dawson? Why is he sharing a video link with me? But I opened it because it was my birthday, and I was all alone in a hotel room, and I was lonely. So if it hadn't been my birthday, I don't know if I would have opened this. And this is what I found in there. Unbelievable. He just was so inspired by the story of Chen Guangchen and my campaign to save him that he did a video of it. Now, there are some graphic images in this, especially towards the end. So, okay. So you can imagine how shocked I was to find that on my email, that someone had gone to the extent of producing this just because of he was just so moved by what was going on with forced abortion in China, and Chen's campaign inside of China and my campaign outside of China. We were sort of working, one inside, one outside of China, and got him here. Now he lives in Maryland near me, and we're best friends. So that's one of the most amazing things that's ever happened in my life. You may have heard that China has ended the one-child policy. It moved to a two-child policy. And the way that the mainstream media announce this is China ends the one-child policy, giving the impression that all coercive population control in China has ended, which is not true. It's simply, as Chen Guangchen put it, now instead of killing every baby after 1, they're killing every baby after 2. So in the new two-child policy, it's still illegal for unmarried women to have babies, and third children are still illegal. Now, I personally believe that China's going to have to give up all coercive population control because they need people. I mean, they have this rapidly aging senior population, and they have no way to support it. And I think that it's going to happen this year. But I urge you to listen to or watch the wording very closely of what they say. Because if they say all couples can now have as many children as they want in China, that means they're still reserving the right to forcibly abort unmarried women. And there's a problem with the definition of marriage. People in the villages can get married traditionally and not go and get the official marriage certificate, and then considered to be unmarried by the Chinese Communist Party. So unless they say all people or all women can have as many children as they want, then they're still going to be reserving the right to forcibly abort unmarried women. Now, even if they do abandon all coercive birth control, there still is the issue of gendercide, the sex-selective abortion of baby girls, because people in China, and not just China, elsewhere, prefer boys. And I think that the best way to get that across is by playing the trailer to the It's a Girl film. So Women's Rights Without Frontiers started out pretty much as an advocacy campaign, raising the visibility, pressuring the Chinese government to stop forced abortion. And by the way, when they announced that they were moving from a one-child policy to a two-child policy, they named two reasons. One was because of this demographic disaster of their aging population. And the other one was because of international criticism. That made me feel great, because I don't know anyone who's been criticizing them more internationally than I have about their one-child policy. So an opportunity opened up for me a few years ago to actually have a network inside of China. And this is very difficult to do. I think I'm the only organization in the world that has a network inside of China that is able to save baby girls. So these are not Americans going to China. These are people who are local from that area. And they are flying under the radar screen. People say, well, you know, how have your encounters with the authorities been? There have been no encounters with the authorities. And that is a matter for prayer. You please, okay, there are clipboards going around. Please sign the clipboards if you want to get electronic updates. Please write your email very legibly. And if you want to pray, put a star by your name. We need prayer. That's how this organization operates, especially inside of China. That God will hide our field workers under the shadow of his wings. So the next two videos, or actually this video and then 2 videos from now, this is the world premiere. So this is the world premiere of our video about how we are saving baby girls in China. So if you could play the Save a Girl video. After college, I took a trip to India, and I was going to take a boat ride on the Ganges. So I was getting into this little rowboat, and I was stepping into the boat, and I saw something floating in the water. And I looked down, and to my complete horror, it was a fully formed, beautiful baby girl. That was my introduction to the issue of gendercide. I also spent time on that trip working with Mother Teresa in Calcutta. And she has a home there called Shisha Bhavan that's for abandoned babies. Basically, all the babies there are girls. And she started that home when she found a baby girl in a trash can. So ever since that time, I've been looking for an opportunity to help baby girls from being selectively aborted or abandoned. According to one UN estimate, there are up to 200 million women and girls missing in the world because of sex-selective abortion and abandonment. That number, 200 million, is greater than all the casualties of all the wars of the 20th century combined. So for me, this is the true war against women. China has the worst gender ratios in the world. At its height, it was approximately 121 baby boys born for every 100 girls born. Something that people don't realize is that even under the new two-child policy, or even if there was no coercive birth control in China at all, there'd still be gendercide, because people, for whatever reason, they prefer boys over girls. After the two-child policy was instituted, there was an incident of a woman whose husband forced her to abort 4 baby girls in a year. And then she died. There was another incident where on the International Day of the Girl Child, a baby girl was found in a courtyard. They think that somebody threw her over the wall because there was no other way to get into the courtyard, and she suffered brain injury and all kinds of internal injuries from that. So gendercide continues even under the two-child policy. And it's going to continue no matter, even if China gets rid of all birth limits. Gendercide will continue, especially of second daughters. Because a lot of couples under the two-child policy, if their first child is a girl, they figure we can have a boy on the second child. And then when that second child comes around, a lot of couples will just keep aborting until they get that boy for the second child. China is not the only country where gendercide is a problem. India also has a gendercide problem, and there are areas of India where the numbers are even higher than the ones of China. There are other Asian countries, and there are even some countries in the former Soviet bloc where gendercide is really a problem. So while we're starting in China, we hope to expand worldwide to be able to save baby girls. Something that's important to understand is that sex-selective abortion generally is not a choice. These women are forced, not by the government, but by their families. The sex-selective abortion of baby girls in China is directly related to human trafficking. It's caused this enormous gender imbalance where there are approximately 37 million more men living in China than women. And what that's doing in turn is that it is driving human trafficking and sexual slavery both within China and from the surrounding countries, and even as far away as Africa and South America. Women's Rights Without Frontiers is unique in that we are the only organization that has a network inside of China that is actively saving baby girls. And we've saved hundreds of baby girls in China. One story that was particularly meaningful to me was of this one woman who was being pressured to have an ultrasound. And she dragged her feet, finally went into the ultrasound, and discovered not only did she have one, but she was carrying 2 baby girls. So even under the two-child policy, she would have used up her entire quota and both of them would have been girls. So her mother-in-law started the pressure for her to abort those baby girls, and she didn't want to. She wanted to give birth to her daughters, and she didn't know what to do. So fortunately, our field worker found out about this and went to her door and said, "Congratulations on your twin daughters. Girls are as good as boys, and we're not only going to offer you one, but we will offer you 2 monthly stipends for a year to empower you to keep your daughters." And with the encouragement and with the promise of resources, she was able to convince her mother-in-law, convince her husband to allow her to give birth to these girls. And now, of course, everybody's in love with these baby girls. They're totally adorable. The message of sex-selective abortion is that females are so worthless that they deserve to die. I believe that this is the most violent form of sex discrimination that exists. And we at Women's Rights Without Frontiers believe that every girl has a right to draw breath on this earth, and that every woman has the right to give birth to her daughter. Girls do not deserve to be terminated just for the crime of being female. Our field workers on the ground in China are incredibly brave. They're flying under the radar screen from the Chinese Communist Party at great risk for themselves. They go in rain, sleet, snow, and make sure that those women get that stipend every month that helps them support their daughters. And they need our help. Not only that, but we're only in one little area of China. All the girls of China deserve to be saved. And not only that, but all the girls in India and all the countries where sex-selective abortion and abandonment are rampant. So I would invite you to join me in what I think is the greatest women's rights battle of our age. When I feel overwhelmed, all I have to do is see the faces of those baby girls that are here because of our work and because of the people who have supported our work, some of whom are here today. And we've also had the joy of not only saving baby girls in China, but saving at least two girls from China to the United States, and we're saving a girl around her own kitchen table. This is a situation where there's an activist in China, very brave. Actually, he's in the United States now. We helped get him here. But at that time, he was in China. He was trained as a nuclear physicist, gave up what could have been a life of privilege, but then he decided that he was going to become a leader in the Tiananmen Square pro-democracy movement. So for that, he's been jailed and tortured repeatedly. When they could not silence him through directly persecuting him, they actually kidnapped his daughter out of her school. She was in the 4th grade, detained her overnight, would not allow her to go to school, put her and her father under house arrest. She became known as China's youngest prisoner of conscience. And she and her father escaped house arrest. They became fugitives, and when they were caught, her father got word out to me saying, could you please help Annie get out of China? She can't lead a normal life here. So with the help of brave people in China, 4 of whom served long prison terms, and also people in the United States, including Congress, Congressman Chris Smith, we were able to get Annie and her older sister out of China. And Annie, we started her on piano lessons because she couldn't speak English, and little did anybody know what kind of a talent she had. She ended up winning an international competition to perform in Carnegie Hall, and that was 2 years of lessons, practicing an hour a day. And she played in Carnegie Hall at Christmas 2016. So here's an EWTN special feature on our family. You see, you know, you do this work, you pour yourself out on behalf of other people, and what happens? God just pours it right back. I'm so blessed that the 2 babies that I lost through miscarriage, I now have Annie and her older sister. So I am running out of time, so what I'm going to do is just very quickly say the same network inside of China that's saving babies is now saving widows. And the widows of China are what I would call the unseen or the invisible victims of the one-child policy. I'm just going to go right into that video. Oh, wait, and this is the world premiere of this video. I finished these videos like 2 days ago. So anybody who's videotaping, please do not videotape or run anything about this video because it has the real faces of the widows, and we do not want them to suffer retaliation from the Chinese government. Thank you. China has the highest female suicide rate of any country in the world. According to a statistic quoted by the State Department, 590 women a day kill themselves in China, and countless more try. In the Chinese countryside, 3 times the number of women as men end their lives. China's senior suicide rate has skyrocketed over the last 20 years in conjunction with a one-child policy. In fact, it has increased 500% over the last 20 years. To the extent that in some areas of China, suicide is the expected way to die. It's become normalized. In some areas of China, committing suicide is almost considered an unhonorable way to go. Why would it be that because of the one-child policy, senior suicide is skyrocketing? It's because the one-child policy has completely decimated the family structure in China. So in the case of widows, lots of times their husbands have gotten sick with illnesses that are very expensive, cancer, heart disease, and the family has gone and borrowed all the money that they can to try to treat the husband's illness, and then the husband died anyway. So the woman is left alone, and she's also abandoned by her own child or her own children. So there's a population of widows in China that are utterly destitute and completely lonely. They feel that nobody in the world cares for them, and they don't have resources. One of the widows that we're supporting, a couple days a week, she would eat only salt because she had no money to buy food. And she bought herself a rope to hang herself with someday when life got too tough. Another one of the widows that we're supporting, when her husband got sick, their daughter-in-law yelled at them saying, "Why don't you just die?" And because it would be so much easier on the family financially. And she pointed to another woman in their community who, when she found out that she had breast cancer, she hanged herself so she would not become a financial burden to her family. Just imagine what these women have lived through. Some of them are in their 60s, 70s, 80s, and even 90s. One of the widows that we're supporting actually had her feet bound. No one in their lives has ever come to them and said, "We want to help you because you're a human being and you have dignity and you have value and you deserve to know that somebody somewhere cares about you and you deserve to be able to eat every day." So we have a network of field workers inside of China. That network has been saving baby girls for years, but over the years I've become more and more aware of elderly and completely abandoned widows in our area. So the same network that's saving girls is also saving these abandoned widows. And we go to their doors and we say to them, "We understand that you need help, and so we're here to help you." And the reaction is, "What do you want in return for this?" Because no one in communist China comes to somebody and just says, "I want to help you because you need help." And we say, what we want in return is we want you to know that you're loved, and we want you to eat every day. And they are grateful beyond any imagination for this. The reaction for so many of them is, "My own family has abandoned me, and yet people from the other side of the world are coming to my door to let me know that I'm loved and then make sure that I can eat." One of our widows said, "I believe that you were sent by God in His mercy and that you're an angel." That's what she said to our field worker. And a lot of these women just respond with tears because never has anybody given them something just because they're a human being. It's incredible that we're able to do this. As far as I know, we're the only organization in the world that has a network on the ground inside of China that is actually able to reach these abandoned widows. And it's an incredible privilege to know that we can actually help them, that we can go to their door and extend mercy and grace and financial support. It doesn't take much to make an incredible difference to somebody in the latter years of her life. And we're only in one small area of China. All the widows of China deserve compassion and care. And not only that, but there are problems with widows in India, there are problems with widows in Africa. I mean, I would love to be able to save widows all over the world. So I would invite you to join me in having an incredibly great impact on widows in China and hopefully in the rest of the world as well. Scripture says, "Rescue those being led away to death. Hold back those staggering towards slaughter. If you say, 'But we knew nothing about this,' does not He who weighs the heart perceive it? Does not He who guards your life know it? Will He not repay everyone according to what they have done?" Because of the massive numbers involved, because of the intense suffering inflicted, this is the greatest life issue, in my opinion, the greatest women's rights issue of our age. To my knowledge, Women's Rights Without Frontiers is the only organization that is focused exclusively on this battle. If you want to keep informed, please sign our clipboard for the newsletters. If you want to pray, please star it. And the need is infinite. The resources are scarce. So I invite you to join me in this, one of the greatest battles of our age. Thank you.